What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, continuing my deep dive into the Grateful Dead's live archival concert release series of every release they've ever done. Doing it by year. Already done all the Dave's picks and Dick's picks. Now I'm kind of just randomly picking years and going through and doing that. So I'm currently in 1989. Done a couple. I'll show you where those rank when I'm done with this one. But today I would like to talk about the Grateful Dead Download Series, Volume 9, which features two concerts from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, here in the States, April 2nd and April 3rd, 1989, at the Civic Arena, the Igloo. Two, I would say, like if I went to these shows in 89, I would have loved them. I would have had a fantastic time. I do think I think 89 was a great year, and I think these are shows that are representative of 89 at its like average, but not when it's hitting home runs. So this is like your typical double, maybe stretching a set into a triple. The second set on the first show is pretty fantastic. That might be a home run. There might be one home run. 4 sets, right? Set 1, set 2 of the first show, set 1, set 2 of the second show. I'm going to say set 1 of the first show. I'm going to go through song by song because that's why I'm here. Set 1 of the first show, I'd give it a single. Gets on base, but that's it. Set 2, I'm going home run. I think that's a fantastic set. Set 1 of the second show, so the third disc, I'm going to give it a double. Solid double. Maybe they can, it's a double. And then the final set, maybe a double. So we're averaging a double, maybe stretch it into a single. 4 discs, essentially, each disc is essentially a set, though in the second show, they have to split up like the encore and the opening of the second set. They put it in the end of the third disc at the end of the first set. So there's a little splitting up that goes on to make the second show work. But it's not that bad, and it works for me. Great sound as always. The Dead did a fantastic job of recording themselves and releasing this stuff. But yeah, you get 2 complete shows. The first show, April 2nd, 1989, opens up with an Iko Iko. We had an Iko Iko early in a show in another 89 release, only it was a Hell in a Bucket into Iko Iko, which is an amazing pairing of songs. I've always thought that Jerry didn't know what to do with Bob's Hell in a Bucket energy, and typically would go into Sugar-E, which I don't think was a good match for Hell in a Bucket. Sometimes a Peggy-O, sometimes a Jack, whatever it was, it never worked. Hell in a Bucket into Iko Iko, fantastic. Iko Iko more often than not open sets, and it provided just this really up-tempo, feel-good kind of dance energy. But in those times when it was second, like I think there's a show where it follows a victim. There's a show where it follows the Hell. There's another show where it follows something that has a slightly more darker energy. But the Iko benefits because Jerry's playing in the Iko becomes a little twisted, a little darker, a little psychier. Here it opens up the show in some really good, upbeat, positive energy. And being that it's in the first set, Bob doesn't know what to do with that energy. And Bob goes into a Little Red Rooster. And I think it just doesn't work. It's a good Little Red Rooster. The band's feeling it. The energy's good. But it's not the energy of the Iko Iko. And for me, listening to this, there's a disjoint almost immediately. And I don't think the set ever kind of fully recovers. And maybe some of the song choices they make, which tend to be standard 89 song choices, are their recognition like, yeah, this set isn't clicking, let's just do these things. So that's kind of my experience for this first set. So the Little Red Rooster, it's good, but it just doesn't work. We have the Dire Wolf, which I'm not a fan of Dire Wolf. Jerry's trying to bring a little upbeat energy. Audience loves it. Bob responds with it, It's All Over Now. The It's All Over Now has bounce. It has good energy. This is a really good performance of It's All Over Now. If It's All Over Now had followed Iko Iko and then everything else just went as normal, I think this is a much better set. I think the energy just like, it stays up and it stays bouncy and it stays a little more Iko Iko fun, but at the same time slightly trippy. So the It's All Over Now is fourth. I think it should have been second. I think you have a better set. We get A We Can Run from Midland. That whole line about looking into the eyes of a child or whatever it is, that little dramatic child thing in the middle, I can't do. I like the lyrics. I mean, I like the message. It's still sadly relevant today, probably even more so, the way we're destroying the environment. Like, I'm freezing my butt off today here. Like 3 days ago, it was like 85 degrees. It's probably going to be 80 on Monday. Texas is crazy, and it's always been crazy, but it seems like it's getting crazier, and the extremes are more extreme. We get a Brown Eyed Women, a Queen Jane approximately, which never really that into as far as the Dead go. Tennessee Jed, which I think as always brings energy to a show. The music never stopped. The initial jam after the lyrics, when they're in that sort of floating kind of spacey vibe and everybody's jamming before they drop into the dun dun dun, that funk groove, that initial spacey vibe hits and hits hard. But once they transition into that sort of dun 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 dun, they never really get the energy back. They never really click like they were in that spacey part. And so it's a solid music never stopped. But after like that initial leap into jammy space, I feel like the rest of it kind of doesn't hold up, and it's almost like a disappointment. Almost like lets down that initial jam. And the set ends there. But at the end of the disc, we get the encore, which is an absolutely beautifully performed It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, which works really well at the end of the disc. Like, they could have just closed the first set with this, and it would have worked. So not a bad disc. It's a single. They get on base. It's not a strikeout. But other than the It's All Over Now, I think is truly, for me, the highlight of this set. And Iko Iko, just in general, fun song. But then set two, it's a home run. It's a fun, festive, high energy. Everybody's having a good time. The performances are fantastic. I have no complaints. Suggestions, but no complaints. Shakedown Street opener, super funky. The Midland Garcia connection, guitar and keyboards, is on the entire time. They are feeling each other. They're vibing off each other. It completely works. Midland has at times like these great wide synth waves that come in that add this weird layer of funky spaciness, and then he drops to piano and adds some really funky vibes there. The jam becomes one of those kind of funk jams. It could be at the end of a Music Never Stop, could be a Feel Like a Stranger. It has that 80s funk that the Dead did so well. They go back into the vocal reprise. Really good energy, really fun performance. Excellent way to start off the second set. Bob responds with a Man Smart, Woman Smarter. Good vibes, good energy. It's fun. Yeah, we're not going out there spaciness, but we're still keeping that kind of fun funk going. And then Jerry responds with a Foolish Heart. And the Foolish Heart jam on here is just absolutely beautiful. I do think this is a song that they never quite figured out what they really wanted to do with this. And sometimes they stumbled on to just absolute perfection with it. Other times it just seems like they didn't quite click. This to me is one of those great performances. It's an upbeat song musically, even though the lyrics are kind of like, hey, watch out, I'm warning you about something. And so it fits in with the shakedown Man Smart energy, but then the closing jam at the end takes us into like a deeper, spacier, psychier realm that so far we haven't really got in this part of the second set, or really even in the show. So it takes us in that direction in a fun way. Unfortunately, we then go into drums after 28 minutes, so we're missing a little bit here, but it's still, it's a fantastic 28 minutes. We get a drums, we get a space, coming out of space, we get just an absolutely perfect wheel. Absolutely beautiful. It just unfolds exactly as you want your wheel to unfold out of space. It just feels like they take a little bit of time to let it develop. We go right into wheel. And then when wheel concludes, after a short little jam at the end, we go into a Dear Mr. Fantasy that is just like, beautiful. The Dead should have been covering this long before Midland joined the band. This should have been something they were covering like soon as Traffic dropped it in like, late 60s. Just a perfect psychedelic song. My only complaint or a suggestion is Midland for the first verse, or maybe it's the first verse is going way too for a Joe Cocker vibe and not more of a Michael McDonald vibe. I don't think he needs to be Joe Cocker in this song. The lyrics are trippy enough. Midland already has a strong enough voice that he doesn't need to like force it. And later, when it's the Jerry Midland sort of harmonizing on that third verse, Brent has to bring it down because he's competing with Jerry. And when he brings it down and he's matched with Jerry's voice, it's like perfection. And it almost seems like we know that Hey Jude is coming, right? Or at least Hey Jude most of the time followed. Knowing that Brent's going to get that release at the end and just go, Joe, Joe, Jody, 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 Joe. Even more of an opportunity or more of a reason to like hold back in Dear Mr. Fantasy and like express that restraint. So when you get to Hey Jude, you can let it explode. That goes into a high energy, super fun, one of the best I've ever heard Around and Arounds. At one point in the Around and Around, when Bob drops the line, what is it? Until the moon went, we go right into right into a Going Down the Road Feeling Bad. Perfect segue. The energy in Going Down the Road Feel Bad kind of stays low key. We're in no rush. We're in the mood to jam. That's why we didn't end with Around is Around. We got more coming at you. Beautiful version of Going Down the Road Feeling Bad, complete with the And We Bid You Goodnight closing at the end, that little instrumental section. And then that goes into a super fun, super absolutely awesome transition into Love Light to close out the main set. An absolutely fun, no complaints, excellent song selection, a fantastic 89-second set in that second set. That's the first show. Second show, I think it's a solid double for the first set. Really high energy, greatest story ever told. Goes into a Bertha, goes into a Walkin' Blues. Not the biggest Walkin' Blues fan. Probably my least favorite of maybe all the first set songs, other than Dire Wolf, which I just have a personal thing against. Just Walkin' Blues never really did it for me. We get a Jacaro, pretty common song in 89. In El Paso, Jerry's licks are nice and tasty. Jerry's bringing that, feels like he's adding to the story with what he's playing in the background. Built to Last, a song I like. This is the second one we've gotten in this 89 deep dive. Another one, I feel like it's more of a Jerry Garcia solo song. Kind of sounds like a cousin to Ruben and Charisse. Another song I don't think they ever really figured out what to do with, even though it maybe thrown something in there. I don't know. Interesting song. Glad to hear it again. A mellow Victim of the Crime, relatively mellow Victim of the Crime, but I love Victim. I love the Victim energy. Think it works great in the middle of the first set. Nice, fun song. Fantastic, just like Tom Thumb's Blues. Jerry's guitar solo and all of his playing is digging into the psychedelic aspect of this song, the surreal aspect of the lyrics. Perfect. And then Don't Ease Me In closes the set. Kind of a disappointment. This disc continues with the beginning of the second set, which is a blowaway. I've decided, based on one of the other shows in 89, that blowaway works best closing out the first set. I like it as a first set closer. Not the biggest fan of blowaway. Not the biggest fan of sort of Midland sort of rants. I think there's some really interesting moments in this song, but ultimately it's like a lot of stuff on Built to Last. Pieces of it work, but the whole thing doesn't seem to gel. Other than, say, Victim of the Crime and some Foolish Hearts, Built to Last had a problem with just making the songs work. Standing on the Moon, actually, they nailed it with that one. But Blow Away just, I don't know, for me it never really worked. Then to close out the third disc, we get the encores from this show, the second show, Johnny Be Good into a Black Muddy River. Haven't heard of Black Muddy River in a long time, so that was nice to hear. Johnny Be Good, really good energy, rocking out, having fun. Good energy. And then the final disc is everything from the second set, other than those encores, and Blow Away. Opens with An Estimated Profit. pretty low key estimated, though Jerry's bringing a lot of energy. We're getting a lot of like high energy estimated profit, so it's not crazy like it's going nowhere near where like a Playing in the Band would go, or a Dark Star, or other sort of jammy band sounds, but we got a nice estimated energy that just keeps things pretty focused. Jerry's exploring the dark energy. The intro to this is, once we get into like the jamming space and the song proper is over, we're just kind of like keeping it pretty even keel for a while, kind of just establishing a mood before things start to get a little more like exploratory. The middle jam in this is rock epic. Like you can see Bob running to the edge of the stage and doing his little leg kicks. It's a really nice middle jam. That goes into a Crazy Fingers. Jerry's kind of hurting with the vocals on this, and I do think it kind of hinders the energy of the Crazy Fingers. This is one that doesn't feel like it's starting to gel too much. You know, there are Crazy Fingers that feel like they're live versions, which feel like they could have been studio versions because they nail it. And then there's versions where you're like, yeah, the Dead weren't always in sync on this song for some reason. This is one of those Crazy Fingers that kind of hit and misses over the course of the song. The closing jam is really cool. It's kind of low key. It's kind of like under the radar, but it's really quietly intense. Almost like they wanted to be careful because they weren't clicking, and if they got too aggressive, it would fall apart. So they had to kind of keep things down low. But it works for the energy of the song. That goes into an Uncle John's Band that's pretty big. Really nice jammy section towards the end. Feels a little too short, that jammy psych session. Knowing, especially we're going into drums after this, that it's essentially another 3-song pre-drum segment. But the Uncle John's is bringing good energy, and Uncle John's is just fantastic. But pretty short. We're talking 30 minutes before drums. You know, typically you're getting close to 40, 45. You know, usually on a lot of cassettes, you know, drums occurs during the tape flip. So you're getting about 10 more minutes on average. So they're kind of short pre-drum segments, but it's pretty good. I'd say a double so far. I mean, nothing fantastic, but the playing's good. Crazy Fingers, nice to hear, but could be a better performance. A Rhythm Devils, we get a Space. We get some Gimme Some Lovin'. Another excellent song choice. They are doing fantastic coming out of Space in both these shows. Really good energy for Gimme Some Lovin'. That goes into a pretty standard Miracle that's pretty nicely jammed out. A Stella Blue. And then we close out the main set with your pretty standard Sugar Magnolia. So I would say on this release, the highlight for me by far is that second set from the first show, the April 2nd show. I think of the two shows, the second show, the third show on April 3rd, the second show on April 3rd, not the first show on April 2nd. The second show is more consistent from start to finish, but I think the first show on the back of that first set, on the back of that second set is really, really the highlight. Though neither one of them are in any way bad. I enjoyed them both. But yeah, where would I rank this among the other two that I've already done in 89? I have it at number 3. Yeah, I think number 3, safe, right there. I think both Crimson, White, and Indigo and Nightfall of Diamonds are just, from start to finish, more consistent, better ones. And, you know, maybe if you'd only... No, I think you needed both of these shows because... Yeah, you heard all my reasons. Now I'm just rambling. Going on a long time about this, but there were 4 discs. But yeah, it's a good listen. No way bad. But of the 3 that I've already checked out, and it is earlier in the year, and I think as the year progresses into 90, they did kind of gain momentum and get better. So it kind of tracks with that sort of narrative. But yeah, I would rank it at number 3 right now. But it's still definitely worth checking out, especially the second disc, set 2 from April 2nd, the first show. Yeah. All right. A lot of ordinal numbers right there. But all right. That's all I got. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Thank you very much for watching. Go check this out. I know, whatever. Okay. Peace. Talk to you later.